is Philip O'Rourke, the Executive Director of the Yellow Springs Chamber of Commerce, and this is Chamber Insights, where professionals share. And what I like to do is bring to you some things that are relevant to your industry, relevant to whatever the national conversation may be around business, entrepreneurship, small businesses, and also things that are going to help you to add some tools to your business toolkit. And today we're going to be talking about identity. We're going to be talking about legal things and how to remain protected. We hear a lot of things about copyright. We hear a lot of things about patents. We hear a lot of things about a lot of things. And today I wanted to bring an expert on to give us kind of the rundown on how do we remain protected as individuals, how do I remain protected as a small business, and what are the next steps, and who do I need to talk to? So today I'm introducing you to Ron Chambers, and we are going to talk to him. Ron.
Hey, good morning. Good afternoon. I'm sorry.
Good day.
Good day.
Good day. Well, I'm so glad that you are with us today, and you have a lot to do when it comes to LegalShield, IdentityShield, all of these things. Before we unpack it all, how in the world did you start in that kind of industry?
That's an interesting question. I'm kind of like a satisfied customer. Oh. I bought the legal plan when I heard about it. I just thought for the price point, it made so much sense. And I knew that I was in a small business arena, right?
Okay.
In a different business than I am now, but I own my own business. And I knew the value of having access to advice and consultation, particularly just to get good information to make, the right decision or the best decision for my business or my family.
Yeah.
And so and I bought the plan. I had a great experience with it and started referring people to the gentleman who enrolled me. And down the road, he said, we pay people to do this. Would you be interested in talking to me about the company? And I said, yeah. So one thing led to another, and I decided to come on board.
Yeah. So for people who, I have the privilege of knowing kind of what you're talking about. So now you're on board. Tell us what that means and what kind of resource are you now?
Well, what that means is that I am a LegalShield representative. We're called associates. And I go to businesses to talk to them about our business legal plan for the business itself or talk to them about offering the LegalShield and IdentityShield to their staff or their employees so that they have the ability to make good decisions as well and protect themselves and their legal rights and their identity, because identity fraud is rampant.
And we hear that a lot. And some people, there's so many things that are sensationalized today, and there's just words and phrases thrown around. But you're saying that that fraud is something that's a huge deal. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's actually happening in the industry and how do we protect ourselves moving forward?
Sure. Well, what's happening nowadays is different than it was 10, 15 years ago in terms of identity fraud. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of data breaches now. And if you talk to IT people, they'll tell you nobody can say that they can 100% protect your system from identity thieves. They're professional criminals. They work from abroad a lot of times. And if they target you, eventually they'll get into your system and they're looking to steal the data on you, your employees, and their families and so forth. And they're not stealing it to use it as much as they are to sell it to other people. So it's not something you can escape. Oh. Eventually, it's going to happen to everyone. And even if you have IdentityShield, our product, we can't prevent the theft of data somewhere. If you think about all the places that our information is at, and we can't do anything about protecting it in those other businesses or school districts or healthcare organizations or wherever it might be. We're depending on those entities. And as I just said a moment ago, they can't even stop the thieves completely. So it's a big problem. It's not going away.
Yeah, so if we can't stop them, what do we do?
Yeah, so that's where we come in.
Okay.
So it's good to have identity theft protection plan like LegalShield offers, and quite frankly, there's a lot of them out there. LegalShield was the first company to bring a product to market back in 2003, when most people did not even know what identity theft was yet. But LegalShield was kind of ahead of the curve on that. And I used to make a joke. I'd say, when you're the only one, you're the best one, right? But now we're still the best one because we've evolved through the years as the crime has evolved and gotten more sophisticated. Our service helps scan thousands of databases. When you have it, you input your information into a secure site. Once you hit the trigger, the software goes out and scours all these websites and databases looking for your information to see if someone has bought it, if it's been sold, or if someone else is even just using it. Well, the people who actually buy the data from the thieves are doing it so they can use it for some reason. And there's so many different things that can be used for it. Obviously, there's financial stuff, that's pretty easy to understand, but employment fraud is a big deal, where someone's using someone else's identity to get a job for a variety of different reasons. So there's just so many different things that go on out there. We could talk about that for a whole hour.
Yeah.
But we just want people to realize that it's kind of, I always said, joke and say it's cheap insurance, because it's going to visit you one day. You can't stop it. It might not be tomorrow, but when it does, are you in a position to find out about it early on so that you can minimize the damage and then clean it up, or what we would call restoration of your identity? And we have dedicated investigators who do that for a person when they have the service. So, number one, a lot of people don't know where to start. What do I do?
Yeah.
And some of these services are good coaches and guides, and that's great. But if you're in business, you don't have time to go down that rabbit hole to try to figure all this out. So if you have ID Shield, you have these dedicated investigators who take on the task of restoring your identity for you. That's the big difference between this service and a lot of the others out there.
That makes so much sense. And what I'm hearing is that this is good for businesses as well as for individuals. There's also the other component of LegalShield. What is the difference between the two?
Well, LegalShield is a legal services plan. ID Shield is an identity theft protection plan.
Got it.
So that's put it simply, that's the difference.
Yeah, when it comes to in what scenario, and I can think of several, but I want the expert to tell me, in what scenario would an employer or a business owner, either a solopreneur or what have you, we talked about Identity Shield. In what scenario would somebody say, you know what, this is really beneficial to me, and in this case, I would need that?
Well, if you have employees, you probably know that there's a lot of government regulations out there to protect employees, which is good, right? But you don't want to inadvertently make the wrong decision or do the wrong thing, because it could be costly. And I'll just mention this too, to kind of tag it back to ID Shield. There's identity theft laws on the books that businesses have to comply with due to state and federal legislation. They're already on the books. And this is kind of my passion. Yes, I offer the legal plan and the ID Shield to businesses, but I also provide a no-cost service of informing them of what their obligations or responsibilities are. And even if you don't know about it, it's still there. And I had a judge tell me once, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So we want to inform businesses about what their responsibilities are. The legal plan helps you do that. You can call in and ask any legal question. You could say, hey, this is the kind of business that I have. What are my responsibilities to protect personal identifying information? And what do I need to do about that? And so they could get advice and consultation on an unlimited basis with our legal plan, which to me is worth the price of admission, because getting good information helps you make the best or the right decision in some cases. So you don't do things wrong, and you at least you're empowered with the ability to get top rated lawyers to help you with these different legal things, whether it's an HR issue, or you're incorporating, or I think you mentioned trademarks and things like that.
Yeah.
There's a whole network. It's similar to health insurance. There's a network of what we call provider law firms all across the country. And so you get an attorney in your state to help you get your questions answered, get that good information to make better decisions for your business. And if you have a personal plan, you can do the same thing for your family.
The Yellow Springs Chamber is a part of SACA, as you know, and one of the privileges that we have is presenting resources like you to our members. In your perspective, what is the benefit of somebody that's listening, or one of our members saying, hey, I might need that? What's the benefit of coming through a Chamber of Commerce?
Well, you got special pricing, for one thing. And the SACA, Southern Ohio Chamber Alliance, which you are a member of, helps share part of the revenue that's taken in off of this back with your local Chamber of Commerce. So it's a good way to help you support your chamber as well.
So it's just support all the way around. It's just support all the way around.
It's win-win-win.
And I know that we don't have a lot of time, but one of the things that I want to know from you, what is, there's a lot of value in having this. What is the result if you don't have something like this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. No, that's a good question. The two things, I guess. One is that if you decide to, seek out an attorney, it's going to be more expensive, number one. But I always say, support your local chamber member. If you have an attorney in the chamber, go to them. If you can afford that, go to them first. But just having the ability to get information at your disposal pretty much during normal business hours has a value. Like I said, if that's all it was, I thought for the price point, I was just trying it out. I said, this sounds good. Let's see if it works.
Yeah.
And so I had a great experience, and I just know that from my own personal experience in my previous business, I made a lot of decisions without having all the information, facts. And a couple of times I made the wrong decision, and it cost me.
Yeah.
So it's protecting your business from, bad things that can happen, or your person, your family, if you have the personal legal plan. It gives you access to a lot of different features. I'll just mention this on the personal side.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a will, and they still say about 6 out of 10 Americans don't have one. And if you have, when you pass, I should say, your estate goes through probate court, and if there's no written instructions, then your family has to hire an attorney to go through that process, and that won't be free, right? That's going to cost money. And if you're in a situation where you lost a family member, you don't want them having to go through that kind of stuff anyway. It's better to have all your ducks in a row, sort of have things pre-planned and all of that. It makes it a lot easier on your family members.
I know people are going to have a lot more questions. Where can they reach out to you and get a lot more answers?
Sure. Yeah, they can send me an email at ron@ronchambersgroup.com. And they can call me if they like, 513-407-6501. You can call me anytime. If I'm not, picking up the phone, it means I'm talking to somebody, and I'll get back to you. I try to get back as quickly as I can, because when people call and there's a legal question, it's usually timely, right?
Yeah. Well, Ron, I appreciate you for stopping by and giving us those insights and being such a resource that people, I think, now know that they could possibly need.
Absolutely. And thanks for having me, and I'll be looking forward to working with you and your members.
Absolutely. That is Ron Chambers with LegalShield IdentityShield, ID Shield. If you are interested in learning more about Ron, his information was shared. You can also find it on yschamber.org/insights. Remember, this is the place where professionals share Chamber Insights, and we will see you next time.
To be a guest on Chamber Insights or to inquire about advertising opportunities, please email insights@yschamber.org or visit www.yschamber.org/insights.